Okay, so we're looking at the front of the wheel arch, and one thing that has happened to me many years ago when I first bought the car and I removed the wheel arch the first time was that I wasn't able to actually spin the two front bolts, so the ones that fit in here and in here. So I had to drill the heads off and remove them, or drill the bolts completely out, or I don't even remember what I've done. Anyway, I'm now looking back at this, and I've realized that they're held in place with these. Now, from the manual I found out that these are called jack nuts. And if you look at them, now first things first, they can be removed if they're still intact. You can try to remove them just with using your what's the name of this thing? Pliers. You know, just try to grip them and squeeze them out. And if you can get them out, you may be able to reuse them, which is what I'm trying to do in this video. So first of all, I've already removed one. So I'm going to try to remove the other one in front of the camera and then take it to the workbench and see what we can do about them. And the good thing about this specific example is that one of them I had to drill through, so there's no more thread in the nut. The other one I had to drill just the head off of the screw, so there's actually a screw still, a bolt or screw still seized inside it. I'm using pliers and a little hammer just to try to apply some force upward in an upward motion. And that's attempt number one. And yes, I understand that my hand is in the way. Let's see if I can get a different view. Okay, well, let's see if this camera angle works better, since I'm trying to hammer it upwards. Okay, no success so far. So let's try to see if we can open a bit. Get some kind of leverage to pull this upwards. There we go. We are getting a bit of movement using a screwdriver. So yeah, apparently a screwdriver is a suitable method of removing this. So there we are. And now I have two nuts, completely different issues with them. I think I already know what I'm going to do with this. Well, let's take this to the workbench. So, I originally was thinking about drilling and rethreading this, especially with this one, but by looking at it, I get a funny feeling that we can bend these two tabs. I think we can bend these tabs out and just remove the nut. Yeah, there's two tabs. Remove the nut and just put another square nut in there, which I believe I have some. So first of all, just give this a little bit of a clean and see what we can do from there. Buying replacement jack nut is always an option. It's just not that I dislike the idea of buying them. I'm assuming they will be cheap. The thing is, we are right now in the middle of the COVID lockdown, and it's a bit difficult to get parts or anything, and I don't like the idea of waiting for them. So, well, why not give it a try with my own solution? Because the metal may be rusty, but it's only surface rust. So there we are. Okay, so how do I go? I am going to first try the bottom one with a hammer and something that will work as a chisel. and buy something that works as a chisel. Since I don't have a chisel, let's try a screwdriver. We got some light. Okay, let's give this a go. Well, this seems to be working. There we go. That side is free. I know you can't see this from the camera, but I am giving this screwdriver very, very light tappies. All I'm trying to do is just bend those tabs out to remove the nut. So I'm just going to try to center punch this and then hammer it out. Okay, let's see what a center punch does. There it is! First try with the center punch. Now, if you have a sandblaster, yeah, sandblast it, zinc passivate, whatever, you know. Now, lucky for me, I have assorted nuts all over the place, because I just buy them from those fill up a bag at Wilco and pick up your stuff. And these ones here, they look like they may work. Look at me. You'll be lucky to have one refurbished nut now. I feel tempted to weld this in place, but I am not sure. Maybe put a bit of a Loctite between the nut and the enclosure. Really, if you want my advice, just buy new ones, because I am not confident this will hold for a long time, but I'm gonna fit it anyway because I got no alternative at the moment. And yeah, in 2 years time after I upload this video, you can ask me how they done. You get the picture. Anyway, there we are. There we have an enclosure and a broken nut. Let's see what we can clean and how we progress from there on. No, the size, just get it. But no, there's a lot of it. There we go. Well, let's just squeeze it in direction. Well, that was the so what's this in here is condense. So let's go back in. All these are not the so this is the side. So let's keep going. Okay. So welding it in place is an option, which it's very thin metal, a lot of rust. Nope. My suggestion is just order new ones if you can find them. Anyway, bit of copper grease in these buggers. So you should have a very good view of the bottom one. So let's try to fit that one. So this needs to go through the back and then slide in, and then I need to push it somehow. So how am I going to push this down? And now the camera is in the way. No, I have to be very, very careful because I don't want to drop this inside. I think I may be getting what I want. So I want to do downwards motion. See if I can get something of that nature. Oh, not good, not good. Well, the screwdriver did remove it, so why not try a screwdriver to put it back in? With another hopefully push motion. Tap, 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 tap. Tappity tap tap tap. There you go. Perfect. Now, I don't know what that looks like in the camera, but to me, that looks like a bolt in place. So, next one. What I'm doing is, before putting it in, just putting the screw in, just to make sure that the copper grease goes everywhere. Everywhere I want it to go. Rather good. So this is one of those to try a different story now. So I think that looks like a winner. Yes, that is a winner. And we have 35 minutes. So yeah, replace them because they're probably not working. Next thing, upper roll nuts. Now these ones I have. Let's see. Okay, so roll nut. Well, probably cleaning something. So I have pulled out the roll nut. Well, I didn't pull it out actually. I pushed it in because it was spinning, and I have some. Oh, there we go. Now you can see. I have some brand new roll nuts that I bought years and years ago as a kit, and I also have some epoxy. So what I'm going to do is just mix some epoxy, put it on the roll nut, and squeeze it in, let it stay there overnight. And I think that looks mixed enough. So now I have 5 minutes to fit this, which should be pretty fun. Like here. There we go. Okay, so here goes nothing. Roll nut goes in. And now I need to squeeze the roll nut. In order to do that, we need a screw. Right, let's try a different angle, because this is not helping me this way. So as you can see, roll nut is poking out. So it goes in place, start squeezing. Thing spinning again. So how do people fit this? I can feel the epoxy sticking. So it's possible that the solution is just to let the epoxy stick and then squeeze. Okay, so what you need is something fairly simple. Well, I'm pretty sure some other YouTube video is showing it. But it's basically a longer bolt, a washer, and a nut. So just go there, squeeze the bolt enough to hold it in place, and now I can just use the nut and the washer. So let's use it. Okay, the bolt is now spinning with the nut, which is something that I definitely don't want to happen. So there we are. I believe we are tightening this roll nut now. What should be happening, and I hope that this is noticeable in the video because I can't see it with my eyes, is that the bolt should be appearing to be longer the further I tighten this nut. So what I'm actually doing is pushing the opposite end of the bolt by squeezing this nut harder. Okay, I think this is at the point where it won't spin anymore. And now give it a day, I'd say. Oh yes, this is definitely not wanting to spin. So what I'm gonna do is go to the workbench and try to demonstrate what I'm doing. So this is the metal I want to squeeze. this is the bolt, which is not helping me. Great. Well, let's just imagine that there is a metal there. So I have a nut, and I have the washer, and this is the riv nut. For the sake of making this demo easier, putting my wrench first. Okay, so the first thing I've done was put the nut in place and just give it a little bit of tightness. And then I kept the bolt fixed and started spinning the nut, which will hopefully lead us to where we want to be, which is a squeezed roll nut without actually, and there you go, you can see it starting to squeeze. There's the bulge on the top. So there you go. So this should have worked. Now, with a bit of luck I can just undo this and the deformation is not gone. But yeah, in theory this should work. In practice it seems to work. And everyone is a winner. So yeah, let's start the second nut. There goes some. Nice. Hey, coffee. We have nut. We have washer. And we have roll. Okay, so this one I think that's the mic. I don't know. And this one keeps like so. Hey, okay, I do it all. That's a little bit focus. Now just put it on. I'm sure what's the on the side. Just like move it on. Well, I'll do this later. Or do this later. Let's these. Now look is port and this. Okay, this is tight. So what this means? This means that in an hour you can plug the two roll nuts and recondition the two jack nuts while filming it. Now there's 3 more fasteners that will attach the wheel arch to the body of the car. 2 of them are located here, and as you can see it's a bit difficult to fasten something to nothing. So I'm not gonna go into those fasteners because, well, I need to do a bit of fiberglass molding or fabrication in order to then fasten them. And the final one is, so the final fastener is here. The thing about this is I have no idea what is supposed to be there, what comes out of there. I could not find out what it was supposed to be in the parts manual because it just didn't seem to match the location in the parts manual picture to the location where it's actually sitting. So with that in mind, I just tried to put a self-tapping screw there. I cleaned it up, I put a self-tapping screw and it seems to hold. It feels like there's something on the other side to bite into. So with that in mind, let's just see what happens. Seems to be biting just fine, not a problem at all. So this is just a normal self-tapping screw from Wilco, from the grab what you can bags, and yeah, it seems to do the job. I then have an M5 washer just to go around it. And with this you have an hour of my probably should be a live stream, let's face it, fixing the car. And tomorrow I will be recording the fitting of this wheel arch liner. This beautiful, dirty piece of plastic. So today is tomorrow. Free beer, everyone. So we're gonna find out what has happened with my epoxy attempt. So let's try to just remove this bolt. It seems to be coming out. Strangely enough, I was expecting this to also be moving. So let's try to twist this a little bit. Okay, there we go. There's some free room there. Ooh, this is looking good. This is looking good. I just have a washer glued in place, which wasn't really intended, but it's not going to do any harm. I think that's a success. Let's do the next one. Yep, and we have another washer glued in. Right, that wasn't ideal, but it's not necessarily bad. So, as we've learned, probably use a bit or something else between the washer and the rubber if you're gluing it. But we've got 2 robots replaced. We are ready to put the interior back in. The wheel arch back in. Okay, so I can't do anything about this at the moment, so that will be for some other day. And let's just put this back together and move on. Okay, so I'm just slotting the wheel arch in place, lining it up with the holes as closely as possible. There they are. Fitting it in with the body. Okay, so these holes are lining up perfectly. Great. So I would personally prefer to use X nuts for this, because X nuts don't round that easily. However, because the rear one, which you can't see, so let's try to get a bit of a, because of this screw in here, it's a self-tapping screw, and I don't have any self-tapping screws of this size suitable that use an X nut. So because this one, let's just point this down.
How are you coping, Bob?
I'm filming. So because of this position, I'm using Phillips heads instead. So I've got myself Phillips heads, machine screws, stainless, for everything. So you just use Phillips heads everywhere when you're removing the wheel arch in the future. So this should be a straightforward task now. So I have a washer with my self-tapping nut. So it seems that the jack nut is not perfectly aligned. So let's see if we can do something about it. Like just pushing it to the side. There is a bit of room for movement there. So the final screw is a self-tapping one. Now I just need to line up the holes. So I'm wondering if it's not lining up correctly. The hole we have in the wheel arch liner should have been higher up. But this is the hole that we have, so let's not use. It's not any harm, it's just not perfect. So there we are. We now have a wheel arch fixed properly after repairing the fixings.